It's the Paris Chong Show.
Is Mental Health Awareness Month. I think that's really awesome. Do you know when that started? That May is Mental Health Awareness Month? I don't either. I think it started after COVID, though. Do you think that? I think I went mental after COVID. That was a crazy time. But so I think it's a really important topic right now because I think there are a lot of people, especially young people, that are really, really struggling with mental health. Actually, one of my very best friend's son committed suicide a couple of years ago, just out of the blue. And if you would have and I had gone for a walk with him on Christmas Eve, and he seemed totally fine. And then a month later, he was gone. And it just still blows my mind as to what could have possibly happened to make somebody that was only 25 years old take their life. And I know that the suicide rate is higher than ever right now for the youth.
For the youth, yeah.
Yeah. So I just and
growing.
And I know it's just so horrible. I think we need to let people know that there is help out there. There are places you can go if you're feeling like that. And so, what was it that triggered you to go into help with the mental health issue?
As I said, they're Ashley Anderson. We worked together at Equinox, and when she went to Life Stance, we started talking about different ways that we could destigmatize mental health to really have the message resonate. Because if you looked at the industry as a whole, it's great that celebrities are getting behind it, but this is not like necessarily like a sneaker or a sports performance drink that just because a celebrity uses something, I don't necessarily feel like I'm going to use it when it comes to mental health. So we really wanted to try to take like emotional triggers to connect to people at really like a human level of what it could be to them, right? Like almost more like less about block and tackle, but more of like guerrilla marketing, hand to hand, like going out and reaching people at a one-to-one level. And that's the three versions of the campaign. We're just really trying to connect with people at a very much at an emotional level. So it's like, as I was mentioning earlier, like it all started with there's not one face, right? So it's like, what does depression look like? It's not 9 times out of 10, as you just articulated, it's not someone crying in a corner. You just don't know what they look like. Yeah. It's all age, races, and genders. So, and then we built on that by going to different wealthy and less wealthy neighborhoods to ask people on the street what causes them anxiety, and the answers were resounding. It was like very similar. It had nothing to do with it was time, it was the state of the world, it was COVID, it was all things that we're all affected with on a daily basis. And then for May Mental Health, we wanted to do something to further illustrate it in almost more of an artistic way to bring people in. Right. And that's why we wanted to brief 13 people. It's like, well, let's ask 13 people, most creative people with the most creative camera company that captures emotion, to say, what does it look like to you? Let's be like kind of subjective about it, because it is a very subjective thing. Mm-hmm. What is depression like?
And a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
When I ask me like, what does depression, anxiety look like? My experiences are very unique, but my feelings are common, right?
Do you feel like you struggle from depression?
I think like anyone else, I have good days and bad days with anxiety and depression, right? It's like I just have had a lot of experiences with trauma in my life, but I work through it.
I always feel really bad for people that struggle with depression, because I've never really been somebody that has that issue. I have other issues, but that's not one of them. But I feel.
But do you feel like I think depression has such a stigma
associated
with it?
People are ashamed to talk about it.
It's not you crying in the corner. It could just be a day that you're sad.
I don't want to cry in the corner, but I mean, I actually just try to always think, things aren't perfect. Life is so beautiful and yet so tragic all the time. Yeah. Like some awful things happen. Awful. I mean, my niece died from neuroblastoma when she was 6 years old, and my sister never recovered. So I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff in my life. But I always kind of have this attitude to choose happiness, but I know it's not that easy for other people. And I definitely think that, I know there are people that are very close in my life that do struggle with depression, and it always makes me sad because I don't know what to do. I think the one time I did get really depressed was when my mother died. I did finally go, oh my God, this is what depression feels like. I felt so sad. I was miserable. And, but it was a temporary thing. But I don't, and I hate how they're putting all these young kids on all these drugs for depression. I think that sometimes that makes things worse.
Yeah, I mean, hard to say. I think some people it's like, I hate to use the analogy of like sometimes if you have such a bad knot in your neck, you need a little bit of help,
Yeah.
massage or muscle relaxants just for the body to relax. So I think there's circumstances where it helps, but I think probably as a society we might overprescribe.
I think it's terrible. I think a lot of.
But I think every situation's unique, and I think that like when it comes to these like depression, anxiety, and these different disorders, it's like what does 10% anxiety look like? Like when can it just talking to somebody help? And why is it that it's okay to have like a fitness trainer and a golf trainer and but like it's like kind of like we're still kind of working with like when it comes to mental health, it's weird to have help.
Well, not in LA. In LA, if you have a therapist, it's like a luxury.
Normal,
it's like it's a cool thing to do. But I've never seen a therapist.
Yeah, but I feel like the rest of the country, it still has like a stigma associated with it. It's like that you're weak or you can't survive or why are you talking about your feelings? And I think, it's okay.
I talk with my friends about all that stuff. Like if something's bothering me, I just feel like I have a support system. But I know some people don't have a support system. These people, they need to know that there's places you can go to talk to people. And I'm not trying to plug anybody. I don't know where, but there is help. There is help. You're not alone.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like, you don't have to, that's just because you talk to someone doesn't mean you're going to go on medicine. And sometimes the anonymity of talking to a stranger or talking to a therapist or whomever is just here. It's like
or talking to the guy next to you on the plane.
Yeah,
that guy you never see
works.
again. That you unload on and tell him the most personal things in your life.
It's the Paris Strong Show.